We're moving on to the part where we have to move multiple terms. So this is where I like to make the letters go to the left, realizing that this is a letter and this is a letter, and the numbers moving to the right. So I'm going to subtract 2y's to bring it over here. 5y minus 2y is 3y minus 3, and that equals 12. And then I want to move the negative 3 over to be with 12. So I have 3y equals 15, divided by 3, divided by 3, y equals 5. Doing the same thing over here. Subtract 3m. I'll get 2m plus 3 equals positive 9. Subtract 3. 2m equals 6, divided by 2. M equals 3. Doing the same steps for these also. Only difference with these is that we have to distribute first. So 3 times x is 3x, 3 times negative 4 is negative 12, and that equals 3x minus 12. Oh wait, when it has the same thing on both sides, that is an identity. Number 14, it has a negative in front of the parentheses, so we can pretend that is a negative 1 anytime that happens. So negative 1 times 2q is negative 2q. Negative 1 times positive 5 is negative 5. So I want to move 2q's over. And get 0q's minus 5 equals 9. And then I want to move this negative 5 over to the x, or to the 9. Plus 5, 0q equals 14. Try and divide that by 0. Q doesn't exist. No solution. Distribute negative 2 to the 4. That's negative 8x. Negative 2 to the negative 7 is positive 14. And now on the other side I have negative 8 plus 14 also, so that is an identity. I realize I made a mistake. looking at this as 14, so I should have 14 minus that, but I still would have gotten no solution because I got rid of all the q's. So all I would have had to do is bring the negative 14 over to the other side, or this becomes negative 14. And actually, going back to this one, I have minus 14. If I minus 14, that's actually identity. Because you have 0 q's equals 0 for that one. Okay. This one, 3 times 6, 18x. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. I have 18x over here, minus 5. Subtract 18 x's from both sides, and I get 0 x's minus 5 equals negative 6. Add 5 to both sides, and I get 0x equals negative 1. Divide by 0, divide by 0. X equals, this is a no solution. Simplify everything as quickly as possible. So 1a minus 4a is negative 3a. 2a minus 5a is negative 3a. And I still have this plus 1. I'll add 3a to both sides. And I get 0a is equals 1. Divide by 0, divide by 0. A is no solution. Alright, so for this one, I see my least common denominator is 10. Because 5 goes into 10, 2 goes into 10, so I'm going to multiply everything by 10. That's just the easiest way to do it. So 10 times 3/5 is going to be 6, and I still keep the k. 10 times 1/10, well, that crosses the 10s off, and I still have this negative with a 1k. 10 times 1/2 is 5. Still have the k. And then plus 10 times 1 is adding 10. So, simplify this side. I have 5k equals 5k plus 10 minus 5k. Feed them to the other side. And I have 0k is equals 10. Divide by 0, divide by 0. K equals no solution. Not possible. Okay, so we're solving proportions here, and I realize I keep on saying okay, but that's because I'm tired. 6 times c is 6c. 9 times 5, 45, divided by 6, divided by 6. We'll just say c equals 45 over 6, which is equal to 7.5. 8 times n is 8n. 20 times 2 is 40. Divided by 8, divided by 8. N equals 5. 10 times 3, 30. 4 times x, 4x, divided by 4, divided by 4. X equals 7.5 again. D times negative 12. Negative 12d. I kept the negative at the top. Then I take 30 times 8. That should be 240. Divide by negative 12. And I get d equals negative 20. Eight gets to be multiplied by all of that. So I take 8 times x plus 3 equals 4 times 7, which is 28. Then I have to distribute. Anytime I see parentheses, go ahead and distribute. 8x, 8 times 3 is 24. Add 24 to both sides, or subtract it, excuse me, because this was addition. Subtract 24. 8x equals 4, divide by 8, divide by 8, and I get x equals 1/2, or you can say 0.5. 6 multiplies by 8, and I get 48 on the left side, and then 9 multiplies by all of that in parentheses, so I have 9 times w minus 2. Distribute the 9 to the w, 9w, 9 times negative 2, negative 18, 48, and I'm going to add 18 to both sides. I get 66, divide by 9, divide by 9, I get 7.3. Canary's heart beats 200 times in 12 seconds. So 200 beats per 12 seconds. Use proportion to find out how many times the heart beats in 42 seconds. So if I put seconds on the bottom, I put 42 on the bottom. X. So 42 times 200. It's going to be 8,400 times 12x, or equals 12 times x, divide by 12. X equals 700 beats. So I don't ask for the negative version, I just want the positive version, and the square root of 400 is 20. Positive version of 36 is 6. 49 is 7. Positive version is 0.6. Negative version is negative 12. Negative version is negative 0.2. Negative is negative 4 over 11. So I have 15 squared plus 20 squared equals c squared. 15 squared plus 20 squared is 625 equals c squared. Take the square root of both sides. I get 25. So I get 10, 24, so I say 10 squared plus 24 squared equals c squared. 10 squared plus 24 squared equals 676 equals c squared. And then I'm going to square root both sides, and I get 26 right there. This time I have the b and the c, and I need to find a. So I say a squared plus 12 squared equals 13 squared. And I'm going to subtract 12 squared from both sides. So I have a squared equals 13 squared minus 12 squared. This equals 25. Square root both sides. And a equals 5. B is 7. C is 10. Find a. So I have a squared plus 7 squared equals 10 squared. Subtract 7 squared right away. A squared equals 10 squared minus 7 squared, whatever that equals. Do it in your calculator. And you get 51. A is equal to square root of 51 because it gives you a nasty decimal. Square root of that. Okay, A is 0.8, C is 1. I'm going to set up the same way. 0.8 squared plus B squared equals 1 squared. Subtract 0.8 squared. I get B squared equals 1 squared minus 0.8 squared equals 0.36. Square root both sides. You get B equals 0.6. Again, the following form a right triangle. So let's see. 9 squared plus 12 squared equals 15 squared. Is that true? 9 squared plus 12 squared. $225. 15 squared. $225. Yes. 2 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. Is that true? 2 squared plus 4 squared is going to be 19. 5 squared is 25. So no. 4 squared plus 4 squared equals 8 squared. 16 and 16 is 32. 8 squared is 64. So no. Find the missing length. I want to find y. So I can set up many different ways. I can say 20 over 18 equals y over 12. Or I can set it up as the opposite way. 18 over 20 equals 12 over y. Or I can set it up as 20 over y equals 18 over 12. 20y, 18, 12. Or I can set it up as y over 20 equals 12 over 18. Either way, it's going to solve it. Y to 12, or y to 20, 12 to 18. Cross multiply and divide. So 12 times 20 divided by 18 equals 13.3. Same thing on this one. I can say 15 over k equals 21 over 56. Cross multiply and divide. And I get 36.4. Okay. 6 feet tall man, 17 feet shadow. So 6 goes to 17, and flagpole casts a shadow. So if this is the height, then this is the shadow, and then we're given a shadow of 102. So I'm going to put that on the bottom, and we want to know the height. What's the x height? Cross multiply and divide. 102 times 6 divided by 17. I get 36. 36 feet. 1 inch to 10 miles. So 1 inch to 10 miles. 2.25 inches apart. To x miles. Cross multiply and divide. 10 times 2.25. And you get 22.5. find the actual distance corresponding, do this the same exact way. So these are the last couple problems that are a little bit rough. Length of the rectangle is 1/4 its width. The perimeter of the rectangle is 60 centimeters. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. So I know that the length is 1/4 its width. So if this is the width and width, the length is 1/4 the width. 1/4 the width right there. So I say that perimeter is equal to width plus 1/4 width plus width plus another 1/4 width. Each of these widths are like 1. 1 plus 1 is 2 plus another 1/4, and I get 2.5. Perimeter equals 2.5 widths. Now if I know my perimeter is 60, I can erase that and put 60. Divide by 2.5. And I get a width of 24. So that's good enough for the width, but I want to know what is the length. If the length is equal to 1/4 the width, I take 1/4 times 24. And I get 6. Alright, so these next two problems are where we are trying to find what we know is that the distances are going in opposite directions. So Tom and Chris go in opposite directions. Chris drives 30 miles per hour faster than Tom. So anytime that we're working with distance, rate, or time, we have to realize that we have to make a graph. So distance is equal to the rate times the time. So put the rate first, the distance. And say Chris, Tom, and Chris is going 30 miles per hour faster than Tom. So if Tom is going a rate of R, Chris is going R plus 30. After 4 hours, they are 440 miles apart. So we know that they're both leaving at the same time, so their time is both going to be 4 hours. And then their distance is equal to the rate times the time. So they each are going to have different distances. Chris going this way, Tom going this way, and we know that the distance between them, Chris to Tom, is total 440. So Chris's distance is 4 times R plus 30. And Tom's is R times 4. And we know that these two distances together, summing, have to equal 440. So I say 4 times R plus 30 plus 4R equals 440. 4 times R is 4R plus 4 times 30 is 120 plus 4R is 440. And then I have 4R. 4R is 8R plus 120 plus 440. Subtract 120 plus 320. 8R. Divide by 8. Divide by 8. R equals 40. So that would make Tom going 40, and then Chris would be going 70. Because R plus 30.